Hello and welcome back to the Movie Soup channel. Today I would like to do a quick review of the Snowpiercer, both the 2013 movie and the Netflix series. But before I go into the review part, I would like to say that I really enjoy post-apocalypse sci-fi stories and settings. The anti-utopian notes strike something within my soul that resonates really loud and sparks the imagination. I like how open such settings are, being not restricted to normal laws, and quite often, due to the nature of fictional apocalyptic events created in those settings, they don't fully abide by the logic we can benchmark against, stemming from the world around us. I also enjoy the nitty-gritty, grim and dark details such stories are usually full of. One such story we are going to talk about is the Snowpiercer. Now, I have not read the original graphic novel, but I quite enjoyed the movie when it came out. It reminded me a lot of the sci-fi movies from the 90s like Event Horizon, Demolition Man, 12 Monkeys, The Matrix, Hardware, and many others, but with a higher production value, some modern twists, and some political and social messaging, of course. So first, let me quickly cover the movie. Snowpiercer from 2013, starring Chris Evans, directed by Bong Joon-ho, also director of Parasite from 2019. So it's a weird, gory and twisted picture of a given post-apocalyptic concept that showed how the corrupt social class structure would attempt to preserve itself in a setting of a train. But the movie only pitches the social agenda. It has a very interesting prism of gore and extravagant depiction of daily activities in such a setting. Food processing, the atmosphere on a train, the cult-like guards, messed up proportions, and somewhat absent logic. The movie realizes it does not need to explain itself, nor does it have to fully obey the physical laws or abide by the basic logic. So instead, it fully utilizes the freedom of fiction and focuses on the idea, not the realism of the details. This movie is a self-enclosed story. I really enjoyed the artistic expression present in almost every single aspect of this motion picture. It has a view, a style, and is not shy of expressing it. The ending is also quite interesting as it does not give any clear closure and leaves the viewer wondering, yet wraps up the story in a way from the point of view presented to us. Now, jumping over to the series from Netflix, the first season, in my opinion, was pretty good. It was, of course, the very same idea as in the movie, but the delivery method is drastically different. The artistic expression and interpretation was replaced with hyperrealism, attention to detail, and down-to-earth approach, in an attempt to not so much present an idea to the viewer, but to put the viewer in the shoes of those third-class passengers, the tailors. And there is nothing wrong with this approach, of course. The merciless setting of the oppression and the unfairness spiking the rebellion. It had a nice build-up, some tension, and culmination to it. The evil were the rich and the crew, which as the season progressed were revealed to be not quite as clear-cut as we were led to believe early on. This evil was presented well, so we as viewers could resonate easily with the rebels, the oppressed. The amount of technical detail was quite impressive as for a TV series, and taking into account the lack of extensive written lore on the matter. The sci-fi post-apocalyptic universes take a lot of material to extensively define and describe usually. Nevertheless, the amount of realism in the setting and the technical detail is significant, but thanks to the active plot development, one most probably won't pay too much attention to the quality of said technical detail, and how much of it would actually make sense. The first season is essentially a story of the oppressed rising up and overthrowing their oppressors. It is vivid, brutal in places, and the setting of the story gives a nice edge, having no way out. And in the end, the evil unknown train arrives and docks with them. The tension couldn't have been higher. But instead of further escalation, the writers decided to ride on the wave of success of the first season and gave us all a cold shower by replacing the active fight of rebellion with a slow-paced setting of a Cold War. We went through yet another round of introductions, but the new characters are much more clear-cut than those of the Season 1. They are also very opportunistic. Let's take Alexa as an example. She is smart, cunning, and educated, as much if not more than her mother Melanie. We were shown how it took Melanie her entire life to become a specialist capable of creating that perpetual motion marvel, how much sacrifice and what kind of drive was pushing her. But at the same time, her daughter is as, if not more educated than Melanie after being locked up for years with angry Wilfred in his little train and a fraction of information available to her compared to what her mother presumably had to go through. The series also started to lose its sci-fi and thriller edge at some point. There is a little subplot around Josie and the Mad Doctors coming up with the superhuman jello, but it is too little and too soft as for a post-apocalypse setting, I would say. We see a little bit of action at the end of the second season, but to be honest with you, it was so stupid and poorly executed that I completely forgot about it a couple of months after watching. The first episode of the third season was the last straw for me, and since it annoyed me so much, I will break it down for your entertainment in the next video. In the meantime, to sum this video up, if you like the post-apocalypse, or if you would like to see how would the modern social structure exist in isolation, or if you would like to see one's take on having to live on a train that cannot stop and with no possibility of exiting it safely, I would highly recommend giving the 2013 movie a good shot. Don't expect it to be hyper-realistic, but look at it as a piece of sci-fi art. So if you enjoy the abstract artistic expression, you will find this movie quite fascinating and thought-provoking. And as far as the Netflix series go, well, if you would like to see the same concept of survival train depicted in a more realistic and relatable setting with a very heavy socio-political focus, then this season 1 is just what the doctor ordered for you. But I would strongly recommend to take that season as a complete story and not letting the rest of the series spoil it for you. As always, I hope you enjoyed watching my video, and I look forward to seeing you soon in the next one. Goodbye.